Hi, it's Stacy with So Steady, and we are here live with Andrew at Wonderfil. We are super excited to have you join us today. We are going to be diving deeper into this amazing new opportunity that we have with Decorative Thread quilting. So why wouldn't we have the amazing Wonderfil joining us to tell us all about the decorative thread options that are out there. So if you're an Elevate Box member, then you got their amazing decorative thread kit that they included for us to share with all of you. And now today, Andrew is going to tell you about some other awesome opportunities that you have in using potentially that couching foot that we provided, the decorative thread ruler foot, or just doing other fun options with decorative thread and your sewing machine. So Andrew, I'm going to let you take it away and maybe share a little bit about, what you're going to be telling everybody about today.
All right. First of all, Stacy, thank you for having us, and we also appreciate very much for So Steady to chosen the Wonderfil to be their thread partners. That's why you guys see our threads in your subscription boxes.
Yeah.
So today, actually, I would like to spend most of the time. I will briefly talk about decorative thread like for a couple of minutes. Then I'm going to dive into uh, the thicker version of embellishment threads that you can use in couching, because I want this session to be more focused on the decorative thread ruler foot that So Steady has, and also how beautifully the thread would deliver alongside with this magnificent tools that they have. This is what I'm going to focus on, Stacey.
I love it.
Yep. So shall I start?
Yeah, let's get started. And then what we can do at the end is we can show a little video just reminding everyone how they can use that decorative thread ruler foot by Wonderfil Design to really take advantage of these amazing threads, because we do have a really great guide that can walk them through it. So we're going to let you go first and tell them all about it, and then we'll head over to that video.
Yeah, thank you. Thank you very much. And I did also look at your decorative thread ruler foot video. When I look at it, I said, wow, it really opened up a new can of worms.
Isn't that amazing?
Yeah. You can do a lot with your foot there.
Well, I loved it when we talked yesterday, Andrew, and you said, "Oh, do you have a ruler foot that can do that?" I said, "Yes, Andrew." That's why we got this amazing kit.
Yeah. So okay. So first of all, what I like to say is at Wonderfil, we have a very diverse thread line. So in our product catalog, you can see that there are actually 36 different thread lines, starting from 100 weight Wonderfil, which is very fine, to a number 3 weight eleganza that we are going to touch on, that you'll be using as your lay down thread for your couching. All right. So this is us. So 36 different thread lines, but of course I won't be talking about all 36. I pretty much going to talk about still 7 to 8 of them. 3 of them that they will be more for your needle thread, because when you couch, you need 3 thread minimum. For your regular sewing, you take only 2 threads, your needle thread and your bobbin thread. But when you couch, you need 3, because you need 1 as your lay down thread, and then you still need your needle and your bobbin thread. All right. So if you sort of start looking at thread, a lot of people, when they make a thread decision, when they purchase a thread, a lot of times it really just goes to oh, is the thread's going to hold? Is the thread's going to break? And they kind of looking at the color of the thread if it goes well with their project. Most of the time, when people look at color, they're not even looking for contrast. They're more looking at, oh, I have these colors in my fabric. Let's pick a thread that has this color. So this is basically what we see all the time. But however, for thread, actually it serves 3 primary functions. So one is, of course, structural, like what I said earlier, that you're looking for a thread that will bind, that will hold your pieces, etc., etc. That is the most basic one that most people that would go to their mind. And the second is, of course, for embellishment. Embellishment would also include like machine embroidery, your thread painting, your machine stitches, all those sort of things as embellishment. And the third is textural. So the textural part is actually, you might not want to see the thread sometimes, but the thread help you to create, to make your fabric or make your material more interesting by creating some sort of features. So these are the 3 primary functions that a thread should deliver. So today we're not going to talk about number 1, the structural one, or the number 3, textural one. And we're going to talk about the embellishment side of it, the aspect of it. So again, like what I said, because I want to talk about this fantastic tools that Stone Steady has. There's a decorative thread ruler foot. All right. So the 3 lines, the beauty about couching, why I'm so excited about it, is you're not only picking a thread when you couch, you are creating a thread, because you're combining different threads at the top to create a totally new look, a totally new colorways that I'm going to show you in a minute. Why I said that it is so great, if you look at it. So these are the different thread lines that you can use as your lay down thread. If I just open one of it, say I open Dazzle, you can see the color options you have. This is just one of the lines, the color options that you have to build your own color. And now that is your lay down thread. Look at this dash, it's your lay down thread. And then today we're going to talk about the 3 top thread that you're going to use. That is Spotlight, which is a metallic thread. Everyone always loves to add a bit of glitz to their work. And Mirage is a variegated thread. All right. So I will show you how beautiful it is when you're using at the top thread, how it changes the look of your lay down thread altogether. And last but not least is the Wonderfil, which is 100 weight thread. When it is 100 weight thread, you use it in your zigzag. What you don't see the color of the thread at all. That means you're going to keep the original color of your lay down thread or lay down threads. All right. So this is the idea. Now let me show you some samples. To start with, along with in our thread line. So there are a number of them they consider decorative because of their color and different ways they make. So these are different thread that you can use as your top thread. But what we're going to choose, there are only three of them we're going to choose out from here. It's the Mirage, variegated, Mirage, 100-weight Invisifil, and the Spotlight metallic. So when you use 100-weight, this is what you normally get. You see no threads at all. Can you see it actually just create a design that you want, but you see no thread? That's when we use 100-weight in couching, it's exactly the reason we use it is we don't want the thread color to get in the way of the lay down thread color that you picked. And then we come to the Spotlight metallic, which is a rayon core metallic. It's very soft, very easy to run. So these you can use the thread alone as a decorative thread when you use machine stitches with it. And this is Mirage, the variegated ones. All right. So these are the three needle thread that we use throughout the samples I'm going to show you. And for the lay down thread, so that is Invisifil, it is Mirage, and it is Spotlight. Now coming to the lay down thread, we have the Egyptian cotton eleganza in 8-weight. Okay. That's number 8, number 5, and number 3. You can see here for the Egyptian cotton that we have, it comes in 3 sizes. And then we have the razzle and the dazzle. The dazzle is a rayon metallic, and razzle is just like a pearl rayon. And they both are 8-weight. Okay, so these are the thread that you're going to see in the samples that I'm going to show you. Now, why do I use, or when do I use 100-weight in a project? So the color of the lay down thread here is exactly what you see here, but it's been zigzagged down with Invisifil 100-weight. So in other words, you only see the original strand or original color of the thread that you picked. And now if I use Mirage, which is a variegated 30-weight rayon, what it does is the lay down thread actually is not variegated. It's a blue rayon. It's a blue razzle. But then you can see that by applying Mirage, a 30-weight variegated thread at the top, I changed it to a variegated strand in my design. Now, in this one, the lay down thread again is just razzle with no metallic in it, but with no glitz in it. But this time I use Spotlight, which is a rayon core metallic, and I added glitz to it. All right, this is why we choose different top thread simply to achieve different results. And all right. So how does the top thread actually can make your work quite interesting? If you look at this one here. So for every of these, we have 2 different color thread that we have used. You can see side by side, even the lay down thread is the same color here, but then because by picking a different needle thread, we change the look of the stitches, the color of the stitches altogether. All right, that is how your needle thread would affect the final result of your work. This one, you can actually make your couching a little bit more interesting when you start to use a slightly bigger thread at the top, i.e. slightly bigger thread is any thread that is bigger than like 30 weight. Then you're going to create a different look of your strand. You can see that the zigzags sort of play into the thread to sort of to give it a whole lot more features on the thread itself here. It is actually zigzagged with D-twist, which is a 20 weight uh, uh, color twist thread. And now if you go contrast, the lay down thread here is blue, and we pick a gold spotlight metallic. You can see it create very interesting results. So, I mean, it is honestly endless. You can do so much with it, and you can build something just unique to yourself, but not anyone else. Now, so far, the sample have shown you, they pretty much, most of them, they are just they just have one strand of thread there, only one strand. But of course, you can build your own thread by looking at the foot that Stacy has. They it is not actually like other cording feet that the size of the size of the cord or what you can put there is governed by the size of the hole. So the beauty about the foot is, I can see it is kind of like a channel, not like a notch. They can actually just place a cord, even quite a thick cord on it, and still be able to couch it down. I think this is really an awesome, awesome design. Uh, right. So to do that, I'd like to introduce you to one of our tools. I have to, which is called thread tamer. When I designed this tool, I have already couching in mind. So, you know, when you couch, basically, you will have to hold your lay down thread. Sometimes it can be challenging. So, because they can run away from you, you know, when you get everything set up with your thread sitting on your lap, you can't even go away for a toilet break. You need to finish it before you can go. So, this kind of things did come to my mind. So, I invented these tools. It's not just a thread stand, it's called a thread tamer. If you look at it, today I'm not going to talk about the other function of this accessories, but I'm just going to again talk about how you use it for couching. If I turn it around, you can see there are couching slots here. All right, there are couching slots. And if I turn it around, you can see you can put up to 3 spools of thread here. So what you literally do is you set up your spool here on the pin. Then here, you just need to pull it through. If you want one, you can just put 1 spool on, 2 or 3. So you can have easily up to 3 spools. And what you do is, oh, another thing is can you see that there's even a little spool up here? That is your needle thread. In this case, I put mirage here. You see that? Here is the mirage here that you can put in your needle. So pretty much I have all your 5 threads covered to do your couching in this case. So, okay, let me set it a little bit to one side. So what you do is when you build your own cord, now I just pull the thread out. When you build your own cord, what you do normally, we suggest people say, let's tie a knot here. And now, just like what you've seen in the So Steady video, you have to sort of lock it down on your project first. i.e. put it behind your needle, drop your needle, and so it gets started. And then what you do is now, say now the thread tamer is pointing this direction, the sewing machine's right in front of me. What I do now, I can twist, apply the right amount of twist I want, that I see, okay, this is the kind of cord I like, the color, the way the twist it is. Then you can start fitting it on your foot and start sewing, and then it comes out as a cord. So you can build, I mean, you can build different color, you can choose different material to make something very interesting. Okay, so this is a fantastic for thread tamer, a fantastic tool for couching for sure.
That is so, so valuable to Andrew, because, you know, as all of our educators have been doing these classes, they've been trying to find ways to tame this thread, and to have a tool like that where you can really control the way that you're feeding the thread through your needle is really, really valuable. So that's amazing.
Yeah. Yeah, thank you, Stacy. So I just want to share with you some samples that we did with the thread tamer, that we built our cords with it. Look how pretty it is. You build your own color. You choose your top and bottom thread. You can make something really thick, and it still work beautifully with the foot. So like what I say, if you can see those chunky line of lay down thread, it might be a cord, it might be a sort of braid, it can be anything. Even with a braid, you can still add a strand of spotlight metallic to it to make it more interesting, or you can add another strand of variegated eleganza to it to make it, yeah, pretty. So you see that? This is all the possibility you can do with the foot, with the thread tamer, and with the thread line that I show you. All right, so that's that. And just now I'm going to share with you some ideas. You know, I'm sure a lot of you would have fabrics sitting in your wardrobe for years that you might not have an idea how I'm going to deal with it, what I'm going to use it for. So I just want to show you a couple of samples, what we did with the couching technique, adding a little bit of decorative stitches to it. That was a really boring fabric, but then look at the texture we add to it with the couching and with the decorative stitches. Now it can be a really great piece of material to make a bag, make a purse, or whatsoever. All right, and look at this one. It is a simple, not printed fabric, just a black fabric. How you can build your own fabric out of it. Don't look at the side of it. Just imagine you are going to have a fabric like this now. You can do a lot of things with it.
Oh, that's really, really cool. Yeah, I
Yeah,
could see that becoming a really neat bag, or
right, exactly.
yeah.
Exactly. So I think what both So Steady and Wonderfil we try to do is help to try to come up with product to help you to unleash your creativities, and let you to work on things that you might have dreamed of, but now we have the tool to help you to get there much easier. Now, I want to show you some practical projects that we've done with the couching technique and all these decorative threads. So, first of all, home deck cushion. Look how simple that is, but how neat. All right. So it is very popular for home deck project, the couching technique reason, because most of your home deck fabric, they are heavier in weight. So when we pick a size of the thread or thread weight to work on the home deck project, especially for surface embellishment, you want to use a bigger thread, because if you have heavier fabric, if you have a sort of a utility weight or even lighter weight thread, they're not going to show up as good. So always a bigger thread. And of course, you don't have a lot of option when it comes to bigger thread. That's why you want to build your own. And you can use this couching technique. Now, what about fashion? Look at this. This is
Wow.
and with decorative stitches. Look at
That is gorgeous, Andrew. Now, I would love to see what that piece of fabric looked like before all those gorgeous stitches.
Yeah, it is honestly just like this.
That's incredible.
Yeah,
Yeah.
you say it's too ugly for tablecloth, right?
Yes.
Look at that. Yeah. So yeah, and now say on the dress, you can always add
Yes.
embellishment to a garment, to dress or anything. Right?
How fun is that?
Yeah. And now, of course, I haven't forgot about the quilters, right? Add a border to your applique.
Oh, wow.
You see that? It really
Yeah.
makes your applique pops.
Mhm.
And of course, there are smaller stitches that you have tons of other rulers and stuff that you guys can use to add other. A lot of times we encourage people don't employ only one technique when you do a certain thing, because
Yes.
the different technique you incorporate in one project, it will make your project more interesting, and they sort of complement to each other. And also a nice Christmas quilt. We all know that we do want to add a strand of gold or whatever in quilts for our Christmas. You see, this can be easily done here and here and here. I can't I cannot point. All right, they are all couched down. They are not stitched on because the thread is simply too thick to go in your needle. All right, Stacey, I think I I'm pretty much done. Yeah. So if you guys have any question, I'm quite happy to answer them. So I know I
Excellent.
shouldn't take up the whole lot of your
Yeah.
time. And
No.
yeah. So if you have
Um,
a question or any of your the audience, I'm quite happy to answer here.
Yeah, well, I am going to first and foremost say, fantastic samples. And yes, and I do think you absolutely inspired some really, really awesome ideas today, Andrew. So
Huh?
thank you so much for sharing that. The big question that came through is, where do you find that amazing tamer, the thread tamer?
Yeah.
How do people get their hands on that?
Uh,
And
yeah. So actually, Wonderfil products been distributed in 10 market worldwide, of course, in US and Canada. And in US alone, we have over 2,000 dealers. Or we have a lot of shops they already carrying our product. And for people who live in kind of like remote area or when they can't get this, they can always order from our online web shop, which is called shopwonderfil.com for
okay.
the US customers.
Excellent. I will go ahead and make sure that they have that link before we leave our live here today. I am so excited because tomorrow we're going to be doing a live where we're going to be using the embroidery to do applique and some of the decorative thread. And so this will just really line in line with that, using the products that we provided in our club box this quarter, including your amazing thread.
Thank you.
So yeah, so this is right in line with that, and kind of inspiring, giving them some of those tools. So I love that that was one of the samples at the end. Again, I think that you guys just have some really great education, and we're very excited to be partnering with you for this box, and continue to have some really fun opportunities come out for everyone. So I'm going to head on over now to share with everyone this awesome class by Leonie West, where she is going to walk you through how to use that decorative thread foot, because someone just commented that they still need to learn how to use it. So we're going to teach you how to use it today, and then you're going to go out onto that Wonderfil website, Shop Wonderfil, and you're going to find that decorative thread and get inspired, okay? Now, if you are a club member, do not forget to look in the last page of your club guide for the partner offer, because they did provide a special discount opportunity for you to take advantage of as a club member. So take advantage of that. Take a look at that tamer and some of the other decorative thread options, and yeah, have fun, guys. Thank you so much again today, Andrew, for joining us, and we'll look forward to hopefully having you share some of your knowledge in the future as well.
Thank you for having me, Stacy. We really appreciate it.
Thank you.
Bye-bye. Have a good day.
Bye-bye. Thanks. All right, so let's go ahead and head on over. I'm going to share with everyone this awesome video by Leonie West, where she actually teaches you all about that awesome ruler foot that we put in your boxes. Now, if you did not get an Elevate Club box this quarter, don't fret. You can purchase this ruler foot separate, and you can take advantage of all of this amazing education, and of course the Wonderfil thread that we have available as well. So let me go ahead and make sure we've got that all ready to go. Okay, let's have Leonie take it away, and she is going to share this awesome class for you on how to use your decorative thread ruler foot.
In what shape size? What shape size?
Hi, I'm Leonie West from Westerly Design, and I'm going to show you our decorative thread ruler foot. As many of you will know, my husband Bill and I created the first one-piece ruler foot for domestic sewing machines, made to fit just about all domestic machines. At the same time that we made our ruler foot, we began working on a decorative thread foot. We wanted a thread that we could sew very, very fine threads through to thicker threads without the need to change to different threads. One of the problems that I found when doing testing was that often the threads would not be caught. So you would sew down and come around a curve and the threads would be hanging loose. And the reason for this is we're working going around in a circle. And unless you can carry the thread so that it gets caught by a straight stitch as it goes around, you are going to wind up with a lot of threads that are hanging loose. We also wanted to have one decorative thread ruler foot. We didn't want 3 for different size threads, we just wanted 1. So we're going to show in this video how we sew different threads using 1 foot and being able to go around the curves. When we teach quilting with rulers and templates, we teach you to keep your fabric in one plane and move, keeping the fabric staying square with the machine. What we're going to do doing this is we will now chase the template. So we will turn, we'll sew down a section, stop, then turn our fabric so that our foot keeps running in a position, come back. We're going to pretty much be running straight in line with the feet of the machine. And that way we can get these threads to catch down. But when you sew with decorative threads, it's fine when we're using a big thick thread to use a straight stitch. But if I want to sew something finer, then I put my machine into a zigzag, and we'll explain that. This one has been sewn using a thread which we've attached down with a fine zigzag. I actually like the effect on the back of my quilt, but it makes it possible to sew so many more threads by using that zigzag. This one here has been sewn down using a straight stitch. The thread's thick enough so that my stitches will drop into it. This one is using another slightly thicker thread, And this one again has been sewn using a straight stitch. This one we have some backtracking on, and that works. This is a finer silk knitting yarn, and I've sewn that one down using the zigzag again. So by having the ability to use a zigzag or a straight stitch gives us much more scope with what we can use. Decorative threads, I say use them to do a highlight on a quilt. I wouldn't do lots of lines coming back and forth, because when I do my travel stitches, they're going to show up a lot if I do it there. So this is using a flat braid. This was sewn down with a straight stitch. So they're the two options that we have. And I'll just grab another sample which shows you a lot of different threads. On this sample, which we'll just move through slowly, I've used 33 different threads. This one here is a cord. It's quite stiff and hard. I could not sew that with a straight stitch, so it's got a zigzag. This is quite a fine thread, and it has the zigzag. This one's using a straight stitch. This is another silk knitting yarn. This one here is a slightly rounded braid, and if I sew that with the straight stitch, it comes out looking very strange. So it's got the zigzag. This is a wider braid, and this one has the straight stitch going through the middle. This one here is a really little fluffy, spiky, metallic thread, and sewn with a straight stitch, it just missed everywhere. But sewn with the zigzag, it's caught down all the way through. Another braid, this braid here has been sewn with a straight stitch, and that one's been sewn with a zigzag. So you can choose which way you want to go. This one here, you can see the grey thread I've used. It's quite a firm, round thread again. This is something I like to play with, which is a really stranded embroidery thread, and it just falls apart. If I use a zigzag, it all holds together beautifully. When I use a straight stitch on that, it splits those stranded threads. Another gold, which is a very fine thread, zigzag. And then here we've used, check out the back, a zigzag on this one. So a lot of them are zigzags, some are straight. The thicker the thread, the easier to use a straight stitch. When we get to the finer threads, go to the zigzags. This one here is a 12-ply wool, and it's got a metallic through it, and I just sewed a zigzag over the top of that one. This is quite a chunky knitting yarn, and that was sewn with a straight stitch. Another metallic using zigzags again. So you can see how the different threads behave using either a straight stitch or a zigzag. I've used a thread which most of the time sort of blends in with these. I did use only one coloured thread to do all of these. You could use it so it blends exactly with that yarn that you're using, or you can have it become another feature to your quilting. Our decorative thread ruler foot comes in low shank, high shank, and medium shank. Our decorative thread ruler foot has a unique keyhole which our thread runs through. This keyhole is what makes it possible to use thin threads to thick threads and have the threads caught all the way through using rulers and templates. The foot comes with instructions. In the instructions, we explain about straight stitches and zigzags. You'll see in here a couple of times where I've written, before stitching, make sure the needle clears the DTRF, which is our decorative thread ruler foot, by hand turning the flywheel, bringing the needle up and down to make sure it clears the acrylic center. Because our foot is made of metal, you have no flexing in the foot, and therefore you are safe to do this technique. I'm now going to put the machine into a zigzag, and we'll sew it with a zigzag stitch. This is why we say to turn the hand wheel. I'll put it into the zigzag stitch. If I turn my hand wheel, you can watch where the needle's going to jump across over here. So it's telling me my zigzag is far too wide. I like to use about 1.5 zigzag, which brings it in. Then I'm going to shift my needle across so it comes back into center. We're at the widest point over there. So now when I hand turn, my stitch is going to drop there. We'll go back another one. This is why we hand turn. And now my needle is clearing the foot on both sides. You'll get used to knowing where the position of your machine sits and where to put it. Some machines you probably won't be able to put them into that zigzag because they'll have just a left or a right zigzag, and then you won't be able to center it back like I did with this one. But we're going to now sew this down with a zigzag. So my stitches are clearing the foot all the way through. And as you can see, that thread is being zigzagged over the whole way down. When you are doing decorative thread work, make sure that you have the thread pulling loosely in front of your work, and that way it will be able to flow nicely. We're keeping it in that keyhole. So my thread is being carried. I don't have to think terribly much about it. It's just riding in that keyhole space. We'll get to the end, we'll stop. Turn it round. Always keep that so that you're running. You can be slightly off on it. Doesn't have to be perfectly running in line. But what you're trying to do is catch the thread with every stitch. Because if you miss those threads, the thread with the stitches, you'll wind up with a very messy looking decorative thread that is not held down all the way through. I'm keeping my hand out of the way for you. I usually have my hand up here, and then you can't see what I'm doing, so I'll go back to having my hand further down. And we're just going to go around this one using the zigzag. I'll get to the end. When I stop here, I'm going to go back to doing the straight stitch again. So I'll bring my needle up, put my machine back into straight stitch, move my needle to the position that it is normally in, and I'll again make sure that I clear that keyhole. I know I'm straight stitching, so that's going to be fine. And we'll do another straight stitch down on here. Then we'll show you how to go around a template which has a curve, and this one we're dropping back into the center. If I'm not stitching in the center of this, it's going to miss that thread and it will not hold it down. When we've finished sewing using a decorative thread, I have a large-eyed needle with a sharp point, and I feed my thread back in as I would with the tails. So that's the end of that done. It's held down everywhere. There isn't a part that we missed. On the back, and I forgot to put batting on this, which backing fabric on this, which is interesting. But there's our zigzag stitch. There is our straight stitch. We're going to sew with this silver thread, which is quite a fine thread, so I'm going to use the zigzag technique. I've brought my top and bottom threads up. Bill wanted me to show you this again. I'm actually going to hold it at the back because my hand gets in the way, so for the camera. Bring the needle down, bring it up again. Now, pulling on the tails that we normally have, it will bring that top decorative thread through. So there's my decorative thread gone through. I'm going to hang on to all three tails, line it up in the center, bring my needle down as we normally do. I want my template so it rides to the front, like I said before. So we're going to line up the spin effects here. I'm going to be moving the template and fabric at the same time. We are working in free motion, so when we're zigzagging, it is our movement that is creating the length of the zigzag. The machine is creating the zigzag going back, sideways, left and right, and our movement is creating the stitch length once again. And I'm turning my fabric and template together as I'm moving it forward. After you've done this a couple of times, it is quite easy. Stop here. We're now going to turn the whole lot round and come down from the other side. So what I'm trying to do is keep my thread running so that the thread is in the keyhole, and as I sew, my fabric and template are moving. Turn it round again. Just move these tails out of the way. Come down. When I'm doing the spin effects with decorative threads, I'm not going to start at position 1 and work to the next one. I'm actually definitely going to come down, stop. I will now turn my template so it's going to come in the opposite side. That way I'm not going to have the threads going back and forth and causing extra build-up. So once we're back in the correct position, we're going to start at the top again. We want this thread to be caught as best we can. So by moving fabric and template together, you can see, I'm not sure if Bill's drilling down so you can actually see that that needle is dropping either side of those threads. We'll stop here, turn it again. We're going to sew down the next one. A thread this fine is difficult to couch at the best of times, but couching whilst trying to do ruler work where it's not like art quilting or thread painting, I can go over and over my couching threads when I'm thread painting as many times as I like to make sure it's cut, it's held down. When I'm doing ruler work, I don't have that luxury. I have to make sure I get it caught down the first time, because we cannot go back and forth because it just will not look very pretty. So we'll go down and do the next one. Again, keeping that line running. So I hope you can see how I'm turning fabric and template together. They stay together quite nicely. Stop here again. Turn the whole lot. If when you turn you do take it offline, it's easy, just put it back in the correct position and keep going. So we're going to come down this one. Stop here, give it a turn. When you feel that it's starting to get away from you, just stop. It's like all of our quilting. Don't try and battle to keep something happening when you know you'd be better off stopping, repositioning your hands. We've always taught that with our quilting with rulers and templates. Repositioning is really easy. Trying to chase something around is not so easy. And this will be the fourth one. There are certain templates which will be easier to do with decorative threads than others, and certain techniques. Using decorative threads and doing template quilting is absolutely fabulous. One little tip that I'm going to show you, which I like to do, is if Bill can follow me up with this spool of thread. Thread's down here. Okay, my thread's just sitting here, and I spool out thread onto the piece I'm working on. To keep the thread out of my way, I will put it onto my thread holder at the top. Then I'll just spool out a few bits of thread as it goes. So we're going to come back and keep sewing this one. As I said, normally I keep my finger somewhere around here, just loosely holding that thread, because it's got a lot of kink in it. I want to make sure it stays in that keyhole. And here we go down, we're back in the center. I'll stop here. We'll cut these threads off. And we have one beautifully couched down decorative thread. It is caught all the way through. As I said, this is quite a fine thread. With a straight stitch, I would miss that thread all the way. it would be caught here and there every so often. I've played with using couching feet on my machines, just the standard couching feet that you can buy, and found that going one way you'll catch it a lot, going the other way you don't, and you can miss 2 or 3 inches and not even notice. With this technique, we don't want to be missing those 2 or 3 inches at all, because it will sit quite strangely on our quilt. I'll just take those away, and we'll put one more thread in and do another. I'll finish the spin effects off in a different thread. I'm going to show you using a stranded embroidery thread. What happens if I use a straight stitch to go through that embroidery thread is this embroidery thread tends to separate like that. So I have 6 separate strands, and when I'm using a straight stitch to do something like this, the needle will go between those strands and it will pop up out all over the place looking like that, and it's quite ugly. Whereas to have it like this looks really pretty, especially when you're playing with the metallics, which this is one of their metallics. Again, I'll show you how to bring that thread through the hole. Take the thread, pull it back so that it's caught on that top thread. Come down, bring your needle back up, pull your top and bottom thread tails. It will go through the hole by itself. We're going to use a grey thread here, the same one as I've been using, and you will actually see my zigzag stitches appear on here much more than before. We're just going to put a spin effects in going into the 4 corners this time. Same thing as before, coming down, so we're following that the template line, and my thread is going to stitch either side of my decorative thread. Stop, give it a turn, and it's got a little zigzag that's going to show up in the grey on top of it. As we said, this is not a technique that everyone's going to want to use, and some machines you won't be able to do this zigzag, but you can use the straight stitch, and you'll find the threads that work really well with that straight stitch. Generally your thicker threads, the braids, the threads that are the flat braids, which are gorgeous, things like this thread don't behave well with a straight stitch because it splits. But try it, find out which ones you like to use. I can tell you something looks great, you might like something else. You might find a thread I haven't tried. Boucle threads will go through here. Some of the twisted threads with knots in them will go through here quite happily, because we're working on a zigzag. We have the keyhole at the front, which is doing the job of keeping our thread running in the correct position, and we're not having to rely on having a very tiny hole to run through and catch with a straight stitch. I'll show you a thread in a moment which is quite different. So we're back in the center, and I'll just keep sewing these and we'll come back when I'm finished. This is our block finished. I've used 3 different decorative threads and showing you a straight stitch and a zigzag using a stranded thread, which would normally cause a lot of problems. These are metallics, and they all have their different reasons for why some work better than others. This is a beautiful metallic that I said I'd show you. It's round and very firm, and it does couch down beautifully, but you need to use this with a zigzag, because if you try to run a needle through this, it will go sideways all over the place. Doing a straight stitch on this particular thread is not fun, but when it couches down, it is really pretty. So if you have a thread that you really think would look nice in your quilt, try it on a scrap of fabric. It is for adding that sparkle, the pop. It's for giving another definition to your quilt. When you're doing template quilting, doing your decorative thread work, then cutting away gives a whole nother element again to your quilting. So I hope you enjoy playing with our decorative thread ruler foot. There's so much you can do. And, oh, I was going to say before, that's grey on the pink. And I think it looks quite nice. Bill's got to come down and find it for me. The grey stitching in the zigzag over the pink gives you another element to it. If I had matched that pink thread up with the one I was sewing down, it'd disappear. Even though it's a zigzag, it would still disappear. So I hope you enjoy playing with our decorative thread ruler foot. Again, as I said, we have made it in low shank, high shank, and medium shank, and to do threads from 12 weight threads all the way up to 12, 14 ply wools. It's about as far as I went. I don't think I have anything thicker. Just one decorative thread ruler foot is all you need to do your ruler work. Remember, with the templates, there are some templates that are going to be easier to use than others to do this technique, but try it, find out what works. You might find something that I haven't thought of working. Tiny little circles. I don't think I'd do 1/2-inch circles with it, but somebody out there will. So enjoy.
Wow, thank you so much. It's always great to be able to share these amazing education, and how relevant is that after we got to watch Andrew at Wonderfil share with us all of the amazing options you can do with decorative thread. So we hope that if you do have one of those amazing feet, like we delivered in all of those boxes, that you have a chance to try some of this out, get inspired, take that ugly black piece of fabric or maroon piece of fabric and dress it up and add embellishments to the bottom of a dress, or use it to make a pocketbook, whatever it is. So we hope that you dive in and try some of those decorative threads and have fun with them. We have a couple of projects for you coming. Starting tomorrow, we're going to have Shauna live here sharing with you what you can do with the decorative thread and the applique pieces. We're going to be doing some mug rags. So hope you join us live tomorrow at 10 a.m. and we'll look forward to more amazing education as we continue. So thank you so much, everyone. Have a wonderful afternoon, and we'll look forward to seeing you then.